It's the Metzger Tassoul Show.
Hello, sir.
Well, here we are.
Face, a couple of silver spoons.
Another Thursday. Good afternoon.
How we doing, my man?
Doing good. How are you?
Oh, stressed, have a headache.
I haven't heard that before.
No, thank you for asking. How's your weather? It's just nasty here, too. It's been raining.
You know what's interesting is it was like in the 50s last night, right? And it's not been very nice. However, I believe, hang on, I'm going to verify for you, just because I know you can't wait. Yeah, 80 tomorrow, 84 on Saturday, 86 on Sunday. So it's going to be beautiful.
That's nice.
It'll be beautiful, yes.
Yeah, and that 50 degrees at night is fantastic.
It is. Get the windows open, beautiful breeze. It's very nice. So yeah, man, things are good. You know, ramping up. We got Meet the Teachers coming up next week, and
how's that?
Good.
That? Yeah. This or this?
No.
This?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Shane.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, man. Good. Mass intros, you said this weekend?
Next week. We have one mass intro this weekend. We're in a daycare. There's 31 kids, so we have a mass intro this Saturday. So we'll see. We were doing confirmation calls yesterday, and we'll do them again today. So I have a mass intro this weekend. Then we'll have Meet the Teachers next week, and a mass intro again next weekend. So
fantastic.
Nice.
For those of you tuning in, the topic is, inflation is real. That was the catchy topic. But it's really about, how do you navigate a price increase? How do you know when it's time to do a price increase? How do you not lose students when you do a price increase? Do you grandfather students in when you do a price increase on the old rates? But how many of you have done a price increase this year? Can you just put in the chat box? There's 9 of you on here, 2 of which are me and Tass. So for the 3 of you watching, can you please have any of you done a price increase this year?
Let's see if we get full participation.
Yes. And I'm curious, if you've done a price increase this year, how much did you raise your prices? By how much? How much did you increase your prices? Are we sharing?
Yes, I have. Yes, not yet.
I did one this month. Okay, Mr. Hoff. 25%. Wow. 25%. Okay. Mr. Munding. So the question for those of you jumping in, have you done a price increase this year? And if so, how much did you raise your rate?
And Mr. Cole, I'm just curious, right? Like, what does 25 represent? Is that $10 a month? Is that $25 a month? I'm just curious.
So Mr. Wu went up $25 a month. Yeah, I'm curious as well. So today we'll kind of go into how there's a right way and a wrong way to raise prices. It was 120, went to 150. Okay. All right. We went from 125 fall of 23 to 150 a month in 24. Mr. Munding, nice round number of 7% increase. Just giving you a hard time, Mr. Munding. The 7% increase is very calculated. There you go, $10, right?
That's right.
$10 a month. So is the martial arts industry still an industry?
Sleeping. They're sleeping.
Inflation is real. So.
Inflation is real. So our industry is working their other job right now.
Oh, funny.
7% covers the bagels.
Right.
Well, listen, let's just dive into this here. Won't take up a lot of your time, but Tass, let's role play this. You're consulting me. I'm charging $125 a month, but I really want to get up to 150. I'm raising my rate to 150. How do I, what should I do?
Well, I mean, first of all, I would back up a couple steps and I would find out, well, why do we want to increase the rates? Number one, right? What's the indication? Just because I feel like it, because there's inflation and everything's gone up, so therefore I feel entitled to do that. I would want to know, right? First of all, what is your enrollment percentage? Meaning, when you have somebody that comes in to do an introductory lesson, how many of those people are you enrolling? Are you signing up 70%, 80%? Are you signing up 40%? If you're not signing up 70% or more of your people, we would want to find out why is that, what's happening, right? So if you were a school that was charging, I'm making this up, $199 a month, and you had a 40% enrollment rate, I'd say there's an argument that we shouldn't go up in prices. We may even want to consider dropping prices in that case. So I'm going to go against the grain for a moment, right? However, if you're a school that's charging 119, 125, 159, doesn't matter, but your enrollment percentage is high, the question is, well, geez, do we think we can charge an extra $10 a month? And do we think that that's going to affect the enrollment percentage that we're getting, right? And in most cases, a $10 increase is not going to affect the enrollment percentage that you're currently getting. So that would be first and foremost. If what percentage are we closing? Number one. If that's not 70% or higher, well, first I would get that problem and challenge fixed. Then I would consider, okay, now it's a time for us to move maybe and charge a higher price point. Now, the other question that I've been getting a lot, and some of you do month to month, and some of you do programs, and some of you have different ways in which people can pay, right? So if they decide they want to just pay off the entire program for a certain amount of time, whether that's 6 months or 12 months, you give it a percent discount to do that. And then maybe they have some other options that are in there. Well, maybe what we want to do, and a lot of people that get high percentage of people paying in full, the question is, well, should I raise my rates, right? Well, that's an option to raise your rates. So I'm kind of giving you broad strokes. Then we can jump into the, okay, yes, I'm ready. I know I want to change my rates. So how do we do that? But I'm getting a lot of pay in full. So should I raise my rates? 50% of my people are paying in full. Again, that's a mixed bag. What's your closing percentage? So if you're signing up 40% of the people that are coming in, and of that 50% are paying in full, again, I'd want to get your closing rate up first. Are you good with money, right? Are you putting that money into a business savings account? Because I don't think there's anything wrong with paid in fulls. The only thing that can go wrong with paid in fulls is when you spend tomorrow's dollars today and you're not preparing for a potential rainy day. But there may be an argument first to lower that discount that you're giving for a paid in full. And then maybe you've tried that. Like I have a client that I talked to yesterday. They're doing 15% off for paid in fulls, and they've got 50% of their school pays in full for their program. I don't know if we're going to lower that paid in full discount to 15%. It may be time for a price increase for that school as well. So there's definitely different factors and variables to consider when you want to raise prices. I will tell you, I think across the board, it's a pretty fair statement. If you're charging less than $149 a month right now, I'd say you're all, regardless of where you're at, you're all due for a price increase, right?
Wow, that's important. For the 7 people listening to you right now, why don't you repeat that?
I just think if you're not charging at least $149 a month for your basics program right now, there is definitely a case for you to raise your prices immediately. And then the question is, well, how do I do that? And what makes the most sense so I'm not going to upset the existing people that I have in my school, right? And some of you may be month to month, some of you may be term. So there are different ways to incorporate a price increase to get the price increase without really upsetting your client, which is really what the conversation and the call is today. But before you just go raise prices, that's why I want to kind of give that backstory. I think there's got to be a reason why, and does it make good sense statistically based off of where you're currently at with your school.
Well, so let's talk about that. So first, why do you think if you're not charging at least $149, you're due for a price increase? I'm going to put an asterisk in that. If you're working out of a rec center or a dance school and you're there 2 days a week, I wouldn't even be charging $149 potentially, right? Depending on your facility. But assuming you have a commercial facility, you're in a strip mall, you're on some kind of lease, you're paying rent, and you're a professional. When I say a professional martial arts school, I don't mean that if you're out of a rec center, you're not professional. I just mean you're all in on the martial arts business. You've invested a lot. You have a storefront, right? You have the signage, you have the whole nine. And why would you say 149 and it's time for a price increase? Because I have an answer to that.
Well, number one, we've done it, so I know it works.
Right.
It's not theory, right? So I know that it works. I know that we haven't lost anybody because of that. I know our enrollment percentage has not gone down because of that, right? And because everything has gotten more expensive. Now, if you are on a lease term, as an example, right, whether that's an escalator, the lease term is the lease term, right? So it is what it is. But have you looked at your equipment, your supplies, the things that you're purchasing, right? All of the things that you do in your martial arts school. Have you looked at your health as an owner, right? And have you looked at your health insurance, right? All of these things have increased a lot more than 25% over the course of the last several years. And so, that in and of itself is a means for a price increase, right? So someone could argue, well, if I'm charging $100 a month, then if I want to just go up 25%, then I can just go up to 125. You can certainly do that. But I also know, and I not that I like to compare, but I also look at like the dance industry, which is a very similar industry to what we do. And the dance people charge way more than it's disguised. It's disguised because they're charging X amount for a session, whether it's 8 or 16 weeks or whatever it is. But by the way, that's 1 30-minute tap class per week. But they're not doing one dance method, right? They're typically doing 3 or 4 different types of dance. I know Mandy's got her daughter in dance, and it's $400 a month plus for dance at 11 years old. And so that's the very similar industry to what we're in. And I just, for me, I just believe that we're in a position where what we do, and if we really believe that we change lives for the better, and that's what our goal is, to help people become the best versions of themselves, $149 is not a lot for us to be able to deliver that.
And by the way, 30 years ago, there were schools charging that. Right. 30 years ago, right? So that's a point in itself. But also, I just want to go back. When we say we're similar to the dance industry, to the consumer's eyes, we're similar to the dance industry. We, as martial artists, would like to think we're an educational facility, but we still charge as if we're just an extracurricular activity. And if you're an educational facility, you got to act like it, be like it, and charge like it, and then we got to back it up and make sure we deliver. Now, here's the other thing. Do you all understand that if you have 100 students in your school, if you have 100 students and you could just get each of them paying an extra $10, it's $10 to them, $1,000 a month in profit to you. In profit. There's no extra expense with the same 100 students. When you have $25 increases, that's $30,000 a year in increased revenue and profitability for you. But how do you do it? Here's how you do it. Number one, if you promise, even if you're a month-to-month school, if you promise people this is the rate and that's what it is, you don't go back on your promise. So let's assume worst case scenario, you have people on a term that are locked in at a rate, or you're month-to-month, but you promise people we will not increase our rate. But now it's like, oh man, I've learned a lot more. I need to increase my rates. I didn't know that 2 years ago when I was enrolling people, or a year ago, but I know I need to increase my rate. What do I do with the 100 people that I have training? It's this simple, and we can't go into a seminar mode here, but you got to increase the value of what you offer currently and give your existing people the option. For example, if you look at here, some people raise $25 a month. If I'm raising my rates $25 a month, for the person who's never been in my school, they don't know any different anyway. They don't know you raised your rate or didn't. Now you might say, yes, they do. Their friend trains here, but that's irrelevant. They weren't here. Our prices went up. Prices went up. I mean, that's just what happened, right? But if I raise my rate by $25 for my core program, create another program that doesn't have anything to do with that program, which is called an upgrade, by the way. Let your people know that there's been a price increase, but you guys have been loyal to me. I promised you I'd never raise your rate. So you guys are locked in. However, I do want to tell you about this new program we've added. If you want to take part in it, this program is $25 more than what our basic rate is. Now, follow me on this. Mrs. Johnson, you're paying $125 a month. We're not raising your rate. But for all new people coming in, it's $150 a month. If those new people want to get into this program, which they don't have to if they never want to, they can still get a black belt. But if they want to, they'll be paying $175 a month, not $150. But Mrs. Johnson, because you've been loyal, you're at $125 and you're staying there. But if you would like, before October 1st, if you want to get into this program, which is normally $175, we're just going to charge you an extra $20 a month. So you'll be at $145 and you could be in that program. But by the way, you don't have to do it. I just want to give everyone an opportunity. But if you decide you want to do it after October, it will be $175. But let me remind you, you're at $125 for exactly what you've been getting all the way to black belt. Nothing's changing. We're not taking anything away from you. You can stay there. Now, if you have 100 people, let's just say 50 of them say, well, man, I'll pay the extra $20 a month to get that. I'll do that. That's an extra $1,000 a month in your pocket. But this is how you would raise rates with existing clientele. The other way you do it is if somebody's on a term, let's say they're on a 12-month term. Well, you're locked in. Your program's not up until February of next year. But if you want to renew now, we'll grandfather you in and we'll extend that for another 12 months now. So now you have 18 months, not 12. That's an incentive because retention is a profit center in your school. So if you could keep a student longer, that's good for you. But let them know that if by October 1st, if they don't renew, they don't have to, but after October 1st, we will have to put everybody at the going rate when it comes time to renew your new program. So there's ways to give your existing customers an opportunity to lock in rates, but there's also ways to give them incentive and motivation to pay you a little bit more money, because this is where the profitability comes into your business. If you just want to get more students in, you will increase profit, but you'll also increase expenses. Eventually, you'll need a bigger space. You'll need more instructors. You have more equipment. You need more uniforms. You need more everything, right? But if you have 100 people and you can get those 100 people paying you an extra $20, there's no added expense to that. Go ahead, Cass, anything there?
It's the three ways, right, to generate more revenue in your school, right? You either get more customers, you get those customers to pay more, or you get them to pay more frequently, right? And the easiest, I say customers, I mean clients, right, students. But the easiest person to generate more revenue from is someone who already has the know, like, and trust factor in you, and they're already paying you X amount. So for just a little bit more, they're going to get more. That's the easiest person to get you to actually pay more in your school, right? So it is very simple. And for those of you that didn't make the promise that their rates wouldn't go up, well, this is an even easier scenario for you, because you're going to raise rates. But if they want to go ahead and lock in their current rate, they can do that, or they can lock in for a little bit less than what you're going to charge. So there's a lot there are a lot of ways to do it, but it's about presentation, right? It's interesting. I was went to a small town the other day. I teach a self-defense seminar, and my instructor had called me, and I wasn't available to take the call, and so I spoke with him yesterday and just said, hey, what was going on? And he's like, well, I went to the schools, and he said I had a question because I was trying to get in to do the Meet the Teacher booth, right? I'm digressing for a moment, but there's a reason. And he said, and what they told me was, well, anything like that has to go through downtown, has to go through the district. So when I spoke with him yesterday, I said, well, give me the presentation. Like, what did you do? And he's like, well, I just, I went in, and he said, I just said, hey, we're doing a free community event. We'd love to, get a booth set up for Meet the Teacher. I said, okay. And so I went, well, shame on me, because that wasn't trained right, apparently, right? And so I said, did you bring in the partner education faculty? He goes, well, no, sir. I said, okay. When you walked in, did you say, hey, who do I talk to about raising funds for the school? providing the faculty breakfast and maybe dropping off some school supplies. Who would I talk to in regards to that? And then to ask how many faculty members they have, when do they want their faculty breakfast, and then, oh, by the way, we are doing this free community event. We do this every year for the schools, and it's really our way of getting the kids ready to make this their best year. My point is, they don't have to go downtown to answer that question if it's presented the right way, right? And so what happens for us oftentimes is, or the industry, is when we go and we hear something, we go and do it, and then we try it, and either A, it works and you buy in, right? And you're like, dang, this worked really good. And because you probably presented it correctly. Or B, it doesn't work, and say, see, I knew it wasn't going to work, because now you have this belief system, but it probably was because it wasn't presented right. And if you go back to what you were saying before, Metz, is it's interesting what happens. If you went into your school and you forced everybody and said, hey, just so everyone knows, October 1st, you guys are going to be getting this, but just so you know, everyone's tuition is moving to $125. The lashback that you're going to get from that versus, hey, here's what we're doing. This is what we're offering. If you want to do it and be a part of it, great. Here's what it's going to be for you. Just know that if you don't have to do it, but if you want to wait and you would after that, then this is what it's going to be. It's totally your choice, whatever you want to do. It's amazing the gravitational pull that has, that people will make the decision you really want them to make anyways, because they feel like they have an option. And in anything that you do in business, I would tell you, right, when you can create options, you're just going to be more successful, because people don't feel like they're cornered and you're making them do something. Everybody wants to be, the majority of people want to do it anyways. And my mom would say this when I was talking to my dad or asking my dad something. Well, just make it sound like it's his idea and he'll do it. And that was the deal. That's what you're doing with your clients. Like, let it be their idea, and they're more apt and more likely to do it than you forcing it upon them, right? You want to sell equipment in your school. You're like, well, I don't know how to implement a yelled out sparring package. We've never done that before. It's never been required. Great. So what are you going to do? Hey, just so you know, starting this date, everyone needs to have their sparring gear. No questions asked. You need to make sure. You're going to have an uproar, right? But hey, we're so excited. A lot of you have been asking about sparring, so we want to get more involved in sparring. So we have some protective equipment. You guys are going to be some really cool drills with the gear, right? It wasn't required before, so you don't need it. Just know that if you don't get it, you'll probably do more bag drills and pad drills. But those of you that get it, you're going to be more engaged in some of the sparring drills. It's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of excitement, a lot of exciting things that we're going to be doing. And by the way, we're doing 15% off for anyone that wants to get it this month. The majority of your people are going to get it because of the way you presented it. So it's all presentation. It's all options. We cannot emphasize that enough. And sometimes in an ego-driven business, we just tend to think that everybody should do what we tell them to do, right? And that's just not fair. And by the way, I've been that guy 25 years ago. I'm like, hey, we're starting nunchucks next week, so kids, make sure you tell your parents you need to buy a pair of nunchucks. Like, that was what I did 25 years ago. And parents were coming in from their cars. What is this that we need to buy this? Well, that was never required before. And something that I was trying to do that was going to be fun for all the kids turned into be a negative because I forced it upon them as opposed to creating an option.
The other thing I want people to realize is this too. Think about this. Let's say you don't want to raise rates on your existing people. You don't want to create an upgrade program. You just want to raise rates. Then just raise rates, because here's the thing. Using a round number of a 5% attrition rate. Let's say you have 100 students, whatever. You have 100 students in your school. You're enrolling 5 a month and you're losing 5 a month. You have a 5% attrition. Do you know at the end of the year, 60% of your student base is turned over? 60% at the end of the year. Now just think, if you just start raising rates right now, by next year, 60% of students are going to be paying that higher rate. You're going to be generating more revenue for yourself. But I'm a big value guy. You got to make it worth it. So again, it goes back to, why are you raising rates?
Correct.
What are you doing differently? Is it just because everything has gone up? That may be a reason, right? But we'd be transparent with people. Or maybe it's, I'm bringing on more assistants to have better quality instruction. I'm getting new equipment. I'm renovating the school, and costs are higher. Like, just be honest if you're doing that with your existing people. But if you want to raise rates right now, it's like if I go out and open a martial arts school somewhere around town, I'm going to decide what I'm going to charge. Nobody knows if I rate. I mean, it's my rate. It's just what it is, right? So anyway, take a look at your rates. But here's the other thing: live in the world of reality. Stop guessing. Data will tell you, and Tass went all through that in the beginning of this call. As far as how's your conversion rate? How many price objections do you get in your town for the rates you're charging now? Right? Could be a price issue, could be a presentation issue, but the data is going to really tell you how you're doing and whether or not you should raise rates right now. What I don't do is compare myself and try to figure out what the other martial arts schools are doing in my town. I really don't care what they're doing. You shouldn't either, just based on whatever you feel the value is. And there is a market. There is a market as far as pricing in the industry. And you got schools that are, we saw schools now that are charging like $299 a month. I heard of a school that's like doing $299 a month, right?
I know it. Yeah.
If it's working for you, don't change it, right?
That's right.
But I could tell you, Tass is right. You don't want to be in the low hundreds anymore. That's 40 years or longer. Schools have been charging that, right? So I think 150, 149, 159, 169, 179 again, but you can always raise rates. It's harder to lower rates. And we've done that for probably maybe a dozen clients or so where we've actually lowered their rate.
Have you?
Weren't you one of those people?
Yes, I was. Yeah. And that was a while back, right? I was charging, this is 14 years ago, right? I was charging like 169, then went to 139, and then actually made $100,000 more. But yes, there's a place for that, right? But this is the other thing. Sometimes we take these bigger jumps, right? $25 leaps. It's harder to pull back from that if it doesn't work, right? As opposed to these small $10 increments. Can we find something to give $10 worth more of value per month to get more people? I had a conversation with someone this morning, and it was, just someone who comes in and, implements business, just watches and sees where the stress is in the businesses and the systems, and can they do things better, and so on and so forth. And, the conversation, was very interesting, and just about the feedback, not only from, what the expectation is from the employer, but what it is from the employees. What is their perspective? And do you have sales, what are the sales processes, and so on and so forth. And what's interesting is that I said to her, it's interesting, if you do this correctly, right, you don't have to have really a strong salesperson or program director, because the sale happens from the floor. What I mean by that is for all of us, if you're going to raise your rates, right, that value is what they're seeing on the floor, right? That's what's going to inspire them to enroll their child or enroll as an adult themselves, is, what are they experiencing and what is that value? I was talking to one of my instructors yesterday, and he's got one of his students who's doing a firearms course, and they charge $250 for a 4-week firearms course. But there's places you can get it for $90. But people that go through the $250 course, they rant and rave about how amazing that course is. So, but if it was $240 or $250, would it stop me from going and doing a firearms course if that's what I wanted? The answer is no. It's not going to stop me. It doesn't matter. It could be $279. It could be $239. Doesn't matter if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go do it, right? So sometimes we get hung up on this increasing the price. I'm going to tell you right now, I would be doing $10 jumps if you're doing it, right? I wouldn't be doing 3 and 4 and 5. I'd be doing 10, but I also wouldn't be doing $20 and $25 jumps. Again, is there a case and a place for it? Maybe if you've been grossly undercharging for a lot of years, but as a rule of thumb, a $10 bump is a pretty easy bump to do. And you can develop.
And you can do 2 $10 bumps within a year.
Within a year. Yep. And that's what you guys have done down in Orlando, right? So yeah, it's, we know, I mean, inflation, everybody, we're all feeling the pinch, I think I got 3 steaks the other day, and it was $75 for 3 steaks at the grocery store. And they're nice steaks, but that's not cheap, and everything's getting more and more expensive, and we need to do that. And some of us have this idea that we're going to just do number one, whether it's a term or whatever it is, and then in 12 months, there's an automated 3% or 5% automated increase in your tuition. I mean, again, you can do that, right? I just don't know. And if you're talking about that up front, no problem. You can absolutely do it. But I think everybody knows, if you've been around long enough, like, we're just not big fans of doing auto renews. I just think that's, you know, kind of the a poor method of having good customer service with your people. Some people argue, well, I just don't want to have to talk to all those people to renew them, and it's just too much work. It's too labor intensive. I would argue it's great customer service to have conversations, and figure out where you're at, and go from there. So yeah, a lot of ways. By the way, increasing tuition, sometimes this is a different conversation, but that might look like, passing on convenience fees or credit card fees, right? But again, there's a right way and a wrong way to do that. That's going to generate you an immediate roughly 3%, right? Because you're not paying those anymore. But again, there's a right way to present that and how to present it and do it. And so there's lots of different ways that you could do it, within your school. But giving people options is a great way to do it.
Agreed. I mean, there it is, cut and dry. So take it for what it's worth. But again, price increases could increase profitability in your school, but don't outprice your value and don't outprice your market wherever your market is. Don't listen to somebody that's in the heart of Beverly Hills and what they charge and think that you in Kansas can charge the same. It may not be the case for your area. So there it is on price increases. We appreciate you tuning in. And Tass is going to call me in a second and tell me what his big topic's going to be at our Game Changers event in October in Orlando.
I already gave you one big topic.
Oh, well, I got to go look.
But I'm due for a second.
Right. I need
Yes.
another one.
Yes, you do.
All right, guys.
All right, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you.